The next top story is this time different.
Steamy.
This is from KR, AskSN, Territory, 43 comments, 222 sats. Keyan, what's this?
So KR, is making his own kind of cyclical, historical foreboding here. Said society has been shaped by religious identities for millennia, and you could argue that was maybe the biggest unit of organization for a long time. Then you have national identities for centuries, political identities for decades. So he has kind of two corresponding patterns happening at the same time. You have identities changing, and then the time period in which they're lasting, shortening. And he said the first two shifts were messy, violent, and led to spikes in global migration. Why might this time be different? And so I don't know. I thought he was implying that there is a new shift happening, but what is the idea? And so I was curious about what the identity shift might be. But he's at least implying whatever happens next might be, might not be decades, might be years. And so it's just a fun thought experiment. Like if you buy the premise, if you buy the trajectory, what comes next? And so some of us discuss it. He said he doesn't actually think there's much of it might be a shift. Maybe it's just more, we're still in the political identity time, is what I asked him.
Yeah, I have a crazy take if you want to hear it.
Would
Sure.
love to.
Let's go.
Actually, there was a time where I believed in all the history and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know if I believe in that stuff anymore.
History or?
You don't believe in history?
Well, not that I don't believe in history. I just don't believe that that it was exactly like they say in the history books, if that makes any sense.
Well, of course it's not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't
So that's not that
for,
crazy. Yeah, I feel like most people have also arrived there.
Okay, great. That's good.
But you believe it's like it's like completely, it's like far off base, not just.
I think it's probably like 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like
just because I've been around like a long time now on Earth, and I've seen how history has changed in my lifetime, and how some people will say one thing and then in reality what really transpired was completely the opposite of it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. It's like it's in the history books now as what they just said.
What do you think about reality? Like, do you think reality is different for every person?
Wait, I don't understand the question. Yeah, obviously, yeah. But I think based off this, is this time different? Does it matter?
Yeah, does time even exist?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm
time
at.
happen?
I hate to be that guy, but
yeah, I hear that.
does it really matter though?
Right.
Oh, of course it matters.
Why? Why? Can you give me a reason why it matters?
Oh, because it's useful to be able to predict what'll happen. That's why, and it's useful to know what happened so that you can predict better what does.
Like for
happen.
our lifetime or for others' lifetime?
For our lifetime. Like if we can identify like a moment we're in culturally or something, it'll help us kind of make decisions
so it's
about
just
our
more
lives.
like pattern recognition, recognizing. We're trying to figure out patterns.
We're trying to just offset all that work to the computers so that we can all live like Car wants to live, which I agree with, which is that it doesn't really matter. We're just a rock in the outer space of it all.
Yeah, the computers have the history.
Exactly. The
That-
blockchain.
The blockchain has the history.
The blockchain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely know I'm wrong on this position, so I'm not trying to say that.
I definitely think history matters. I think history exists.
I don't think it's important. I don't think it's as important as we make it seem to be.
I'm with both of you on this.
I think it's important for like to read and to know, understand and to like, to learn from. But I don't know if it's actually important.
But the Bible is a history.
Yeah, and I think it's important. But I don't think it's in like a, how do you say, like you're effed if you don't. No, I wouldn't say
like
that.
Car's
either.
not putting the Bible in front of people's faces and be like, if you don't believe exactly this happened, then you need to get right.
This is where I think when I think what he's trying to say here, and I think what Jana was trying to say, or maybe she did say, was like I think everybody's just going to have their own truth, and I think everybody's just going to see things differently.
So you don't agree with the premise
I just don't agree that there's one person that decides what had happened. I think we can come to consensus, but I think if you ask multiple people, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's so many different views now because I think history is just not history. I think time has allowed us to. There's just more people like in the 2000s, right? The early 2000s, there wasn't really like social media and there wasn't, not everybody can chime in. But for the first time in history, we're at a place now where everybody literally in the world can chime in into what's really going on. And I think history is going to be a far different, it's just going to look entirely different than it's looked like in years past because everybody can chime in on how it looked differently. Does that make sense? Like it looks differently from every perspective.
You're sort of like the revolution of the internet like changes the way that like history gets recorded. That has happened. Like I mean, that happened with like the printing press. But this is like another iteration.
Yeah,
and it makes things go very chaotic.
Yeah, and I would say
he's just describing the chaos in different ways.
Yeah, does that make sense? I feel like that's
sort of, yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense. But you're at first it sounded like you were saying you don't want to subscribe to the premise. But that, I mean, that's the point of a thought experiment. But then it sounds like you actually have your own theory as to kind of what's next.
I think we were talking, and then I came to the end.
You kind of stream of consciousness.
Hey, this is what I do
down the stream.
Hey, man.
You arrived at a shore.
I don't read this stuff beforehand.
That's what conversation is for.
But that's kind of, so that's what a lot of us are discussing in the comment thread. Is that
what do they say?
There aren't really political identities. There are like individual identities is now the thing where everyone is like their own kind of. Yeah. They don't have an affiliation anymore. They're affiliated with themselves.
Yeah. So I'll
at
make
least
sure
they think of it that
this
way, but they're probably mostly affiliated with an influencer and kind of proxy them their idea of themselves through the influencer. And so that's kind of, at least that's a discussion I had with Undisciplined and Kepford in here.
It's like they're all so they're all taking the position of like one person speaking for them, is what you're saying.
Sort
like
of,
but they're
themselves. Like a religion of one. They're like themselves. They're like they have like a self religion, and but really, it's sort of unexamined. So most likely, what they're doing is they're actually just listening to an influencer that they feel like represents them, and their religion is actually the influencer.
I think there's just a lot of people who think like that, and it's easier for people not to have to go and dive into this research, right?
Which research?
Just like understanding what's going on in the world. Like I don't have time to go and look into that, so it's probably easier for me to listen to Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, we all use proxies like that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
do those proxies become our like religion though? That feels like a stretch to me.
Yeah, that feels kind of weird.
I don't, in absence of other religion or other affiliation.
That's dangerous.
I mean, I think it's pretty strong. Probably most people more people spend time listening to what Joe Rogan's thoughts are on things, or their influencer choices thoughts are on things, than probably even the people in immediate proximity to them.
Wow.
And if they're not really producing much content themselves, they're
not being thoughtful.
They're not even influencing themselves really too much, right?
And that hurts.
I mean, that's maybe the pessimistic view, but I can understand it for sure. Yeah. Like I would give people more of like, I don't know, just thinking of myself. Like, yeah, there are influencers I would point to that say they have shaped my thoughts, but I then also try to hopefully like have a balance of like religion in my life, where I'm being thoughtful and considering.
Yeah, people can definitely have other affiliations. I think evidence would suggest they don't, for the most part. They have political affiliations now.
Is your evidence basically like Twitter feed?
Surveys that have been done.
Okay.
A couple of days ago, we were looking at church stats on Stacker.News.
Yeah.
Church what? Status?
Stats. Like people that are attending. Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
It was like, I think it was 10%. It's been on the rise recently, but it was declining up until the pandemic, and then I think my read is like I sensed it kind of went up, but I don't think the data has really panned out yet.
I think I've seen just more and more people at church.
Yeah,
but it's very like, it just depends on what time of the season it is.
Well, this guy.
At this one over here at St. Mary's, it feels like there is on Saturdays and Sundays. But then if you go to like to my parish, it feels like maybe there's slightly more families, slightly more. It just kind of depends. I feel it's more seasonal, like if we're during like Lent or something, you know, or like
Big holidays.
yeah, big holidays. It's
Wow.
good. It's good. This is a good discussion.
This one question took us many places.
Yeah,
Yeah, very short question.
this is what the stackers tune in
Long
for.
answers.
This is what they tune in for.
Do they?
It's this
That's
pseudo.
why they
It's this
don't
pseudo
tune in.
journalism that we do here, that they love.
This is definitely not journalism.
I mean, dude, the stackers have said that. They've said this is like there's like Car and Keyan and everybody there.
This is like an
It's like a
incoherent
pseudo-
group meditation. That's what it is.
You're so pessimistic.
I think it just kind of shows how we all disagree. There you go.
Yeah, even people who are working disagree.
I
with
think
us
even
now.
it just shows you like how we all disagree. I think that's a good thing. Shows you that we're all not sheep.
We like disagree, but we can come together
Yeah,
on simple
yeah, that makes sense.
stuff.
I feel that.
Otherwise.